Hi everyone, a very good afternoon. We shall start in next 2 to 3 minutes, waiting for a few more attendees to join us. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello all, a very good afternoon. Before I start, if anyone can let me know, I am loud and clear. Am I audible?
Yes, Ekta.
Yeah, Ekta, you're audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So hello all, a very good afternoon. Myself, Ekta Dubey, on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our partner Compass, we welcome you all on a roundtable, which is driving automation in logistics. So before we start the roundtable, there are a few guidelines that I would like to highlight and make you people aware of, requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. There would be a Q&A after each session when the attendees can ask the question, if any, to our respective speakers. The guidelines are you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself on your video, and introduce yourself and put your question to the concerned speaker. So before we get to the interesting roundtable, I would like to introduce our partner Compass. Compass is a software that gamifies your incentive programs, integrate your CRM, pick one of their interactive game templates, and publish it in less than 10 minutes. No more spreadsheets. With easy to publish, game templates, leaderboards, and analytics, Compass empowers your sales managers. With game-like elements, rewards, recognition, and complete access to relevant information, Compass motivates your on-the-ground sales force to do more. The end result is a highly energized organization with accelerated performances and sustained growth. Today, we are going to hear some interesting insights from them on this as well. And we have interesting set of speakers today who are going to share their interesting insights on driving automation in logistics. So now I would like to welcome and introduce our panel speakers. We're happy to have Mr. Praful Podar, Senior Vice President, Product Management with Shiprocket, Mr. Sumit Pilankar, Head of Technology with Shadowfax, Mr. Soma Sudarshan, Vice President, Process and Product with ExpressB, Mr. Saptarishi Datta, Director, Sales and Marketing with Dasda, Mr. Rahul Tandon, Chief Customer Service Officer with Ecom Express Private Limited, Mr. Himanshu Bed, Head of Sales US with Zozuday, and now I'm glad to welcome a moderator, Rucha Vele, Manager Marketing with Compass. She will be moderating the entire session. So now, Rucha, over to you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for the kind welcome, Ekta. So to start, the theme of this wonderful event is about automation in logistics, which has got to do with everything that has got to do with automation. So I'm very glad to host this panel today, and a very, very warm welcome to all the panelists and our wonderful audience. To start with that, let us start with a quick round of introduction with all our panelists. I will call out all your names in no particular order, and please bear with me if I take a little time to get to you, considering we have a diverse panel this time. So can we start with you, Praful?
Sure, Rucha. Thanks, and thanks for the welcome and the opportunity for this discussion, and thanks for the audience for joining us today. Just to give a brief about Shiprocket as an organization, we're basically operating in solving problems for SMB market in India, primarily operating in the post-order journey, where sellers who are wanting to expand their businesses to the direct-to-consumer channel, how can we enable a seamless post-order experience for themselves and their buyers is where our prime vision and play area remains. We have a strong anchor point there of solving for logistics as a logistics aggregator, working with the likes of ExpressBees, Blue Dart, Deliveries of the world to bring together a singular platform where there is easier access to all these courier partners in one single platform. Think of us like the policy bazaar for couriers, if you may, in a very simple format. Yeah. Where we've not just been able to solve for access and to some extent pricing, but a lot of technology layer on top of it, where we've been co-creating a lot with the logistics partners themselves on how to make sure that we can reduce information asymmetry, help in better information flow, data analytics to net solve for this ecosystem between buyer, seller, and courier in a more neutral format, somebody sitting in the middle, so that we are able to bring along a better experience, not just for the sellers, but also for the buyers. And we continue to build more newer products there across this post-order journey. A vision for us being that, specifically in a direct-to-consumer ecosystem, where the sellers and D2C sellers, which is the wave in right now in India, have done the hard work of finding a product that has product market fit and which has need in the market, get lost in the sea of tools and technologies that they have to use to manage their post-order experience. What we're trying to do is simplify that by bringing along a singular operating system for them at Shiprocket by solving for more use cases. So happy to be here and happy to be part of this panel to take this discussion.
Thank you so much, Praful. Can we move to Soma now?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Richa, for having me here. Quick introduction about ExpressBees. ExpressBees is one of the fastest growing logistics company in today's supply chain landscape in the country. So we cater to about 20,000 pin codes across 2,000 cities and operating out of 50 to about 50,000 people on the ground, delivering smiles across the country. We work with partners like ShipRocket and other e-commerce platforms to deliver these smiles across the country. There's been a lot of co-creating of solutions that we work alongside our delivery partners, our technology partners, and the customer partners to kind of make the experience better for customers. Yeah.
Soma, we are losing you in the between.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
All right, I think there seems to be some issue with the internet. So
Okay.
I was saying that we co-create a lot of solutions along with our delivery partners, our technology partners, as well as customer partners in trying to deliver the shipments and the consignments to the receivers across the country. So if you look at the ecosystem, we talked about the number of people that we have. We have about 50,000 people on the ground. And you can imagine the kind of complexity that we face as an organization in delivering these shipments across to the customers. So we've been innovating in all of these spaces to kind of make the experience better for our customers and also bringing in efficiency for ourselves. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. We are also very happy to have you here, Soma. Can we move to Saptarshi now?
I think.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? I'll just check my price. I think is not on, right?
No, we can't hear you.
Just one second. No, you can hear me, but you can't see me.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Earlier, we could not even hear you.
Just 1 second. I'll just check the camera.
No problem. Sumit, would you like to go ahead till then?
Sure, Richa. First of all, thank you for inviting us to this event. Pretty happy to be here. Good evening to all the participants as well as all the panelists. So I represent here Shadowfax, and in my past experience, I even worked with eCart for close to 7 years in the supply chain side. Okay. At Shadowfax, we are one of the largest e-commerce delivery partners in the country, a 3PL partner for e-commerce marketplaces as well as clients around the world, as well as one of the largest hyperlocal players, a hyperlocal 3PL player in the country. Right? We cater to all different segments, right from a 5-minute delivery to a 4-day, 5-day kind of e-commerce delivery panning across India. We are a technology partner where we have our systems which help aggregate the gig workforce from the ground, enable them to be on the on our platform, and be available to these different partners to fulfill their logistics requirements. And that's our major play, and that is where we innovate and continue to grow. Yeah, I guess that's a very quick introduction about Shadowfax and what we do at Shadowfax here.
Okay, thank you so much. Are you okay? So can we go on to Rahul now?
Hi, good afternoon. Nice hearing a lot of logistics folks for a change. I've been in a lot of forums where we get people from a lot of different industries, but it's nice to have common folks on the board. So yeah, I work for Ecom Express. So we've been in the business now for a decade. Our primary, I wouldn't say claim to fame, is that we've been the guys who help e-commerce actually reach every nook and corner. And it's nice to have Express Bees and the likes now come across and be neighbors to where we were. So yeah, we've all been collectively trying to help e-commerce grow in this country, and it's a diverse country with all its challenges. So and with a vast diaspora of people who are working. So we are collectively trying to solve the entire challenge of e-commerce logistics through a lot of technology, because we are trying to simplify things. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you do, finally it's a delivery boy who's delivering those shipments. So whatever we plan, whatever artificial intelligence or machine learning you do in your upstream processes, etc., finally it all boils down to, the game boils down to, how do you get the guy to deliver? And so we've been trying to do that, and our model over the years has evolved. We've been unique in the sense that we've been the only e-commerce logistics player who's always run on a in-house last mile workforce vis-a-vis the gig. We obviously are also now blending the two, but largely we saw a lot of merit in that. So unlike all the other players, we've always had a captive workforce, and that has yielded certain degree of benefits to us thus far. So yeah, and yes, nice to have Shadowfax and ExpressB and all of that. We've worked closely. We have friends across all of these organizations. So happy to be a part of this discussion. I'm sure we'll have a lot to learn, and we are all in different stages of our evolution. So yeah, nice to share some thoughts.
Thanks, Rahul. Hi, Saptarshi. So good to see you
Hi.
here.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, I just joined. I got late a little. I just joined. Apology for
No
that.
problem.
Yeah. So yeah, what was your question? Sorry.
No, just a brief introduction about you and Jasta. That's all.
Right. So Rucha, hello to all the panel members. I head the sales and marketing for a company called Jasta Supply Chain. Jasta Supply Chain is basically a part of Foxconn Technology Group. Foxconn is basically the manufacturer for any of the electronics in the world. 80% of the electronics, right, from Apple, HP, Dell, Xiaomi, Nokia. Most of the 80% of the manufacturing is done by the group. It was an in-house before. In 2015, we became a separate entity. It was more of an example like Amazon and AWS, and that's how we also run. We're an in-house vertical just to handle the supply chain, right from global supply chain for Foxconn, and then $8 billion globally, and the group is $180 billion. In India, we are 3-year-old, and we will be closing at around 500 crores in the last 3 years. So we are scaling at around 150-200% every year, and we are into integrated supply chain. So global supply chain, wherever we take up projects which are global in scale, and we do freight forwarding, warehousing, and transportation for large projects. So and I head the business, the India business currently for Jasta.
Oh, thank you so much, Saptarshi. And now finally on to my colleague, Himanshu.
Hey guys, good afternoon to everyone. So I work at Compass. I'm heading the business for the American market. And what Compass is basically is a sales incentive automation software. So if anyone incentive that they're giving out, so what Compass is a great calculation engine. So it does the grunt work for it, does the backend work for you. So all you have to do is ingest the data, and Compass does all the operational work, for you. And this will give you a new methodology on how to sort of run the sales team, operations team, etc. So I'm very happy to be here and hoping to learn a lot of new things here. Thank you.
Thanks, Himanshu. Okay, so to start with, my first question is for Praful. So for someone who works hardcore in the product department and is building products day and night for a industry that has been in business for the longest time and is one of the largest legacy industries that we have across the globe, and who has been for the longest time a little unorganized, so to say. What has your experience been, and how do you think has automation kind of helped make this transition where you focus majorly on the suppliers, and then now the focus is completely shifted to the customers? What is your take on that? How has automation really helped?
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting question, and I think with some of the heavyweights on the panel on the logistics side, I think I can add a little bit of a humble opinion here. See, and I think, and it's also to the DNA with which we, at least at Shiprocket, try and work, is to solve by default a lot of problems using technology and data, as opposed to maybe doing it through operations. While the industry will continue to remain heavily ops dependent, like Rahul was mentioning, because end of the day, it's going to be the delivery boy who's carrying the packet from point A to point B. I think some of the interesting ones that we've tried to automate are, how can you figure out patterns using data to be able to solve for the experience in a more seamless manner versus keep people doing some extent of guesswork. And I think that is where couriers have also evolved quite a bit. I think the need in which a lot of the automation which is moving towards instant gratification, where customer expectations are changing to say, I want this product right now in my hand, predicting when you will get this product and also predicting when you will not, I think is super important. And I think that is where, while you can also always have information flowing from the ground in a very seamless manner, there will always be hiccups there, and some automation prediction using data intelligently to say, hey, this is what usually happens, I think helps a lot in setting the right expectations across the board, and also kicking in the right workflows, processes, SOPs if needed. I think the second one, if I pose as an example here, is India is still pretty much a heavily COD dominated market in the e-commerce industry, and which is where there's a lot of problem of packets actually not getting delivered, which is net a loss for the overall ecosystem and business, right? If you really think of it from a seller and a business growth perspective, how do we make sure that you can sort of optimize that the cost that is going into it, both on the seller side as well as on the courier side, and the utilization that is happening, which is where a lot of the automation, not just in terms of communication seamlessly flowing between buyer, seller, courier, that can happen through various communication channel. WhatsApp has become really, really important there, including, rich messages, buttons that you can click, inputs that you can give, and then all of that flowing seamlessly through APIs across systems, so that you exactly know what is to be done. So I am a buyer and I actually want this product not today, but tomorrow at 4 p.m. Can that be actually fulfilled in a seamless way, so that, the courier partner does not end up attempting 3 times just to deliver it to Praful, and, ends up saving on his cost and ends up saving on the GMV for the seller, which is otherwise would have, got returned to the seller. So those are the kinds of automation experiences that are really, coming up. There's a lot of adoption we see from not the customers themselves, but a lot of co-creation, like I was mentioning earlier, with the couriers themselves, that we are learning as we're building this.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm sure Soma would also have something to add to this, considering he also works in a similar space where automation is a very crucial aspect in making sure that the product that you're probably building is completely based on automation. What has your experience been, Soma?
Yeah, so Richa, let me give you an understanding of the complexity of the logistics organizations like ours, and Rahul and Prabhu's with as well, right? Yeah, I just mentioned about the kind of footprint that we have. We serve about 20,000 pin codes, and we are present in about 2,500 cities, and we have about 50,000 delivery boys on the ground. Now, in order to hold this ecosystem together and deliver the promises that we make to our customers, at every stage of the organization and every partner that we work with, like I mentioned earlier, let's talk about the delivery partners or the workforce who kind of help us sort out packages across the sort centers. Now, the challenge comes right from the point that we hire them, getting the right people, and then having them trained and putting them in the right places and keeping them motivated and retaining them and trying to ensure that we get optimal output out of the workforce is one part of it. Another part of it,
Okay,
in order to make sure that we kind of deliver what we promised, let's talk about the the vendor partners. Say this could be the vehicle partners that we work with. These could be the technology partners that we work with. Now, there's a sequence of things that you do to onboard them and then kind of work with them and then give them visibility on what inputs that they give us to make sure that our ecosystem is operating well, and feedback mechanism to them is also sent in real time for them to action on in case if there is some glitch somewhere. It's critical for us, right? So automation plays a very critical role across this. And of course, coming to the core member of the entire ecosystem, right? The customer partners. Communication is one bit that Praful touched upon. Right from the time that we receive the order till the time we deliver it to the customer, we need to make sure the customer is clearly aware of where the shipment is, what is happening to the shipment. And in case if it is held up somewhere for some reason, they will have to keep their customers apprised to make sure that they save their customer experience. So from that perspective, the demand on the technology and the automation is very huge. All right. So another point that Praful did touch upon is the kind of data that we handle. We handle about 5 million shipments any given day in our ecosystem. So all the statuses of this 5 million shipments will have to be shared across to our the claim partners and the customer ecosystem, so that everybody's aware of what is happening to the shipments. Right. That being said, with all these challenges, the automation and technology plays a very, very crucial role. And we've done a bunch of things from our end in each of these legs to keep the ecosystem going and make sure that we deliver our promises to our customers.
Correct. Thank you so much. Now I would like to bring in Rahul here. For someone who has, who currently also heads customer service for an organization which predominantly believes in automation, and apart from other hats that you don at Ecom, what is your take on how automation actually has helped Ecom Express put the customer at the center of this entire product?
So see, there are two things. First, I think all of us, including us, I wouldn't want to just take the claim for that. It's all about tech-enabled logistics. Logistics is no more about picking up a shipment and taking it on a cart. It's all technology, and the more technology and machine learning, data sciences that you build into it. Finally, it's all about building reliability and efficiency in your entire logistics supply chain, right from the time you pick it up to the time we deliver. So Soma did mention about quite a few things that we do in shipment tracking, and also everyone's doing something or the other. But yes, absolutely. Finally, at the end of the day, you've got to keep the customer at the center of it. And you ask anyone, even on this forum, we are all customers. We all buy on e-commerce. What are we looking for? We're looking for a couple of things. Very simple. We're looking that each time we order, we know where the order is. So first, most important, do I communicate aptly, not over communicate. Sometimes over communication is also a mess up. Sometimes I open up a tracking ID. I just saw, I shopped on one of the portals, and a tracking ID was giving me scan updates of my logistics partner, and I don't want to look at that. How am I interested if I get internal jargons in that? So over communication is also not what I want. Customers want very simplified communication. So hence, I think the key thing about communication is communicate in a language that the customer understands. What's the point writing trip and scan, added to bag? Customer doesn't understand all that. He just wants to know in a very simplistic manner that if a shipment or rather something that I've ordered is moving on time and is likely to get to my place on the committed time. So I think one of the key things we have to do, and we sometimes overdo, is we try and over communicate and complicate matters. But as a consumer, I think what we try and do is we try and simplify communication and give only as much as is required. Yes, so what we do is self-help, most important, because today no one has the time and the patience to reach out to a contact center. You should be able to retrieve answers on the fly. So, building in intelligent chatbots, IVRs, all of that is an integral part, and today must have for us, because the e-commerce consumer is socially active, is internet enabled. So you can't have him have to, toggle across platforms to reach out and get questions answered. So the key for us, when we're keeping the customer at the core of all of this, is to talk to him or to communicate to him in a manner or in a channel that is most convenient. So, and most of it therefore is on social forums, on these mediums. The second bit is that as luck may have it, no matter how much we try in a geography that we all operate in, it is there's bound to be a lot of disappointments that happen along the way. Shipments get delayed, shipments get lost. Now, how do you tackle those? How do you timely communicate those is key, because losses will happen, right? Shipments may get delayed, but how do you recover those? How do you build a repromise engine so that he knows and you articulate very clearly and simply to him that, listen, your shipment is likely to get delayed and on time. Don't tell him when his birthday has happened that, your shipment won't reach on your birthday. Tell him 2 days before, right? So that he can make an alternate plan. So I think building a lot of intelligent logistic solutions around dwell monitoring and around being able to calculate repromise dates is very, very critical, because see, what we also tend to do, and all of us are on one side, and we know how our shippers are crazy about speed, but as consumers, not everyone's crazy about that speed. Sometimes it's okay to delay a shipment by 1 day, but deliver it at the right time. So what happens is sometimes we get overzealous about speed, and that results in unnecessary pressure on the last mile, and then this whole phenomenon of fake delivery attempts happen, because the guy really can't deliver, but you're telling him that, listen, go and deliver it today. So all he does is he just takes the shipment out and brings it back. So balancing that. And then finally, at the end of the day, your brand, or rather the brand that you represent, which is our principles, whether it's the shippers, is finally governed by the boy who is delivering. No matter what you do, you can have the best sortation systems in the world, but finally, if that boy who is going to the customer is not dressed appropriately, is not talking the appropriate language, is not simplifying the delivery experience, everything comes to naught. So, and in an environment where my boy could be an Express B boy one day, and an E-Cart boy the other day, a Wishmaster the other day, or an Amazon boy the 4th day, making sure that whatever you train to him is simple, is on the fly, is very critical, because finally they are the guys who finally determine the customer experience. So training these guys, these 50, 60,000 boys, or if you see at an overall ecosystem level, lakhs of delivery boys, to deliver upon a uniform customer experience is very critical, and becomes a very key thing for us when we are keeping the customer right at the center of what we do. So yeah, by and large, it's if I talk purely from a customer angle, and customer here being the consignee, this is what we do. But for me, the customer is also the shipper, right? So there are a lot of things that we integrate with them for, and I'll spend a couple of minutes on that. So today, all of us, we deal with multiple shippers who have multiple different, let's say, technology systems, who also have different asks. Someone's just gunning for speed. Someone says, just get that damn shipment delivered. I mean, because his product is a push product. Now, for us, every customer is uniform. For me, the largest customer and the smallest customer on my network, I have to give them equal importance. So how do I create that ecosystem of a uniform experience is very critical, because whether we like it or not, in the e-commerce space, it is largely, while it's a crowded space, it's largely bulldozed by say 3 or 4 players. So making sure that despite the pressure to often prioritize that, how do you keep the smallest of shippers, their requirements also at par, because for me a shipment is a shipment, is something we have to involve technology in, because whether we like it or not, it's the smallest shippers who often get bullied in our space when it comes to the delivery process, because see, it's a very complex algorithm. we all finally in our ecosystem operate to a plan. When I mean plan, a plan of how many shipments we can deliver in a given day, right? Now, that is again built on the inputs given by our shippers, and time to time those get breached. So someone just gets a high volume of shipments, and therein what happens, the customer experience gets sullied because you don't really have the capacity to handle that. And that's where technology plays a big part. And I'll bring in the part which Himanshu is talking about. That's where the variability and scale and maximizing productivity and throughput comes into play. Where how can you get a last mile boy who's delivering normally about 30-40 shipments to deliver 100 shipments a day? So that's where incentive systems and intelligent incentive systems come into play, because you can't have Excel driven intelligent systems being rolled out across the length and breadth. That's where you have app enabled incentive systems come into play. So all of those things finally are done to finally impact the customer experience, because at the end of the day, finally, what are we doing? We're trying to deliver a shipment on time. So yeah, some thoughts. Otherwise, I can go on and on. Sorry if I've overstated.
So, just I just have a follow-up question. So, as Rahul just said, so it is all about the last mile delivery, like how it happens and the efficiency of that. So, I just have a follow-up question, like what is the sort of retention model are you using, or how do you keep them motivated to do the right delivery at the right time? And as you said, the fake deliveries also, how do you sort of eliminate that? What is your thought process? And it's for everyone, like this is a problem everyone's facing right now.
Okay. So if I hear you correctly, your voice is a little garbled. What you're asking me is how do we keep these people motivated and reduce attrition, right? So, reduce attrition is a very tough question, but yes, to keep it at an optimal level, because you're dealing with a gig workforce and you're dealing with a workforce who would move at $500, right? Also, we must realize that in the ecosystem that we operate in, it is not just e-commerce delivery of the kinds that we have. There's pharma, there's grocery, there's everything. So that same boy wants to maximize his throughput of earning every day. So if in his bag, he can fill in 10 shipments of Express B on a given day, and he can fill in 50 shipments of 1 mg, he'd rather go into a 1 mg if they're paying him higher per shipment. So finally, the game is about how are you maximizing his earning potential? That's what the game is all about, right? And the earning potential, finally, it comes down to variabilizing, right? He has a typical 8 to 9 hour window. Now, in that, the whole play is not around how much you can fill in his bag in 1 minute, or rather in one route, but how soon can you help him empty that bag out and get him back to send another bag, which is where intelligence and your entire, let's say, AI ML come in. Because see, at the end of the day, the delivery boy is given, say, 10 shipments, 20 shipments, 30 shipments. Now, left to him, he'll go all over the place to try and deliver. Now, where do we come in? We actually help him design his route. We actually tell him how to go about delivering maximum in the least possible time. We also tell him which are the ones to be prioritized. We know consumer behavior, we know shipper behavior, we know which ones will have the highest chance of delivery. So give him those as well, because it motivates him. Imagine if the guy goes, first 4 deliveries, the customer said, to hell with it, come tomorrow. He's already demotivated, right? So that is where we use a lot of the intelligence that we have gathered over the years, that which are the shipments to move out, which routes to be created, and then finally back it up with a lot of incentive models, which are not just per day incentive models, but which are also linked to longevity in the ecosystem. Those help keep people within the system. And I mean, that's really it, because finally, the way we operate, whether we like it or not, we have an industry which also fluctuates in its volumes. As we speak, we are all headed up into peak season, so everyone's crazily hiring. And 3 months from now, everyone will be busy firing because the volumes don't justify. So in that kind of a model, how do you create a retainer model? How do you also create a flex model? Because it is not just about creating a captive, field force. You also have to keep a very active flex field force, which is people where everyone's moving into, getting your gigs, your Kirana models, all of those playing, so that attrition will happen. it's not, it's not your typical office environment where, you have an annual appraisal. Here you have an appraisal every day, right? And more than often, what happens is that if in this kind of a setup, if a guy does not see his earning for the day having moved up, he will shift to another player where he sees higher deliveries. And it's an open source in that sense. He will talk to his friend will say, अरे you please come to Express B, यहाँ पे इधर ना इस shipper का आ रहा है, इसका delivery ज़्यादा होता है, ज़्यादा पैसा मिलेगा, and vice versa. So you have to set the right targets for these guys and keep them stretching, but not with a view of not letting them perform, but with a view of maximizing their earning potential, keeping in mind that you also can't get into too much of a cash burn scenario, because you can't, give in all your monies to these guys and then end up being negative. So yeah, so that's how we really run the whole show.
Himanshu, we can't hear you. Still can't.
Once you're muted.
No, he is unmuted, but I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
The pods are not working.
Probably. Okay, till the time Himanshu comes back, I'm sure Sumit, you would also have, I'm sure, echo Rahul's thoughts. And is there something that you would like to add to this? Because this is something I'm sure you would also completely relate to.
Yeah, I guess Rahul has almost echoed all the things that as an e-commerce player or even as a hyper-local player we go through. As a hyper-local player, probably we have even more constrained time-sensitive supply chain to really work with. So as Rahul was giving an example of informing someone about his birthday gift 2 days earlier, we probably only have half an hour on the day of his birthday to deliver the shipment. And if that gets delayed, we do not have any real time to recover out of it. So those are the kind of concerns that even we have. But working in the gig industry and majorly relying on the gig workforce, a contractual workforce than our own hired fleet, as Rahul explained, they work with. We have the flexibility of being able to expand on our fleet as we need, as time requires. Right, we're able to roll out the right incentives, so for more folks to join in on a particular day, or balance our incentives so that we can optimize for cost on the days we do not really have or do not really see the kind of load coming into the ecosystem. So those are some of the ways that we have been able to balance both keeping the riders happy with the right amount of incentives being given to them, as well as balance the cash burn, the money flow into the ecosystems. And yeah, I guess that's where Shadowfax really comes into play to manage the surge kind of situations wherein we can easily ramp up our workforces as required, as well as take it down. Comes with its own challenges, again, on the CX front, to have the workforce being trained to the kind of customer experience that you want to provide at the doorstep to the end customer. Again, a lot of that is supported through technologies with the right amount of training, courses to go through, simplifying the processes so that it is not too much that the rider really goes through, or the delivery agent really goes through, and can simply deliver the shipment to the customer, making him happy when such a situation really comes in.
I'm sure. So Himanshu, are you there now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My apologies.
Himanshu?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yes. So you were saying something a while ago.
Yeah, so I was just saying, Rahul, that I completely understand that what you're telling about, and my only question was that how do we sort of get the delivery partners to stick around and the retention rate, to be a good number. So I got the answer, and I have a few things that I would like to talk about, but it'll come later. But yeah.
Yes. So Himanshu,
I'm sorry to
I
cut you off
actually
so much.
want
Yeah.
to ask you. Sorry.
No, I
Yes.
am sorry
So
to cut
what
you
I
off.
want to
You
ask
were
you
just
is,
speaking.
for
Yeah, go
someone who's worked in a company that has kind of introduced the lowest time delivery, and has been in the hyperlocal space and was one of the first players. Uh, how has your journey been? And now that you work with a company who's actually trying to automate and kind of trying to solve things, solve the problems or challenges that you faced. As someone who was working in a hyperlocal organization, what has your journey been, and what do you think is really must really work for them now?
Yeah. So yeah, I did work in Danso for a bit before this. So what the problems I faced working there was that the delivery executives were changing companies every single week because they're finding a more interesting model somewhere else. So that was my question around how do we make them to stick around? And now that I learned that I came to Compass, I understand that if you have them self-motivated and if their variable payouts are in a structure where they're getting something per week, and if they're getting it on a daily basis, like they can see on a daily basis that this is my income, okay, I'm happy with this. And if I make 5 more deliveries, it'll be to X amount. So that is one model that works wonders, and I've understood that now. And that's what Compass does the best, I feel. And this is what I did for one of the biggest, delivery services company, the courier services company that is there right now. And they're shipping 10 million shipments a month and stuff like that. The main problems they're facing was the same as Rahul said. The fake, the deliveries and the efficiency. How do we improve efficiency? So delivery executives are the bedrock of a robust logistics management services. Like if they are not doing their work right, the customers won't be happy. And if the customers aren't happy, 75% of them won't even come back to the same platform. So how do you maintain that cycle? Like how do you keep the customers happy and you keep the delivery executives happy? So these esteemed panel here, everyone has spoken about the customer side. So I want to speak about how do we keep the delivery executives happy and how do we make their payout structure in a way that they are little more, they seem that they're happy with the work that they've done and they're getting the right payouts and the efficiency is increased. And so another thing I want to talk about is the main thing is that they're very elastic. The fixed income is lesser and the income that they earn on a variable basis is much higher. So if you can get them that on a regular basis, that would increase the efficiency first of all and also reduce the fake delivery. For the company that we're talking about, what we do is we create a reward system. Like if you get 90 to 100% efficiency of the delivery, you get 100 points. And if you get 80 to 90%, you get 50 points. You get 70 to 80%, you get 25 points. So with this reward structure that we are giving to the company, this gives the delivery executives, first of all, the understanding where they are at the current state, and also the managerial team, the understanding of what their executives are doing. And they can reward them, according to that. And also for the fake deliveries, if with from 0 to 0.5, it's X amount. So this way, if we can create some model around that for all the other companies, I feel it would be super awesome. And automation in this would make their life much better.
Oh, thanks, Himanshu. I will bring in Saptarshi here now. So sorry, Saptarshi, I took a lot of time to get to you today.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
So for someone who's working in global logistics, which is a different ballgame altogether as compared
Right.
to the national markets in India
Yeah.
and hyperlocal deliveries that we've been speaking about for a long time now. Uh, what do you think is something, but the nature of the business still remains the same. The people who
Right.
run your business are is still the gig workforce. So, what is
Right.
some strategy that for someone who heads sales for an organization which is heavily dependent on gig workforce? What are some strategies that you use for your team and for your organization to kind of motivate the gig workforce that you are working with?
See,
And how has
correct.
the journey been?
So in our case, it's purely we are more of a B2B logistics company, in which the in which the major contribution comes from the group, which is Apple or Xiaomi or Nokia. So 60% of our volumes come from there. Now their efficiency level is around 99.8% in terms of their manufacturing. The assembly line which we have put in India, if you see any of the iPhone 12 and further, most of the consumption in India is all manufactured or assembled in India, and their entire supply chain we have to handle. Now the supply chain also has to be that efficient to create that kind of manufacturing efficiency. Now our workforce in India itself for the assembly line is approximately around 30,000 people, and then in China it's around 3.5 lakhs people. So that kind of scale which we are currently working on, only the manufacturing and assembly line. Now to create the kind of motivation for this huge workforce is a challenge, but at the same time we try to the basic things, the basic hygiene factors, we try to keep it first, right in from basic, right from their minimum wages to, and you must have heard the news of Foxconn not paying. There was a recent union case where there was a minimum wage issue which had happened in India, and there was a legal case happening, and we try to create the minimum hygiene factors. That is the first thing. Second is we have started a few reward programs for the basic line, the ground line managers and the ground line executives who are handling the warehousing and the assembly line programs. But currently, I was speaking to one of your team members that it is currently completely on a manual process. So we try to see who is so they have few KRAs, that how many production units are they handling, how many assembly lines are they handling, or how many SKUs are they handling, and what kind of efficiency level are they on. And this is completely on an automated system which is captured, but the reward point is completely manual. So that basically the HR does it on a monthly basis. They check the KRA numbers and they try to reward it on a manual basis. And that is something which we are trying to automate, and we are trying. So there are a lot of slabs which are given to them. So if your efficiency level is at 90%, 95%, 99%, and we want to reward them as per that. If you are achieving that kind of KRAs, are you eligible for that kind of reward? So that is completely manual today, that we want to automate. Apart from that, the program efficiency or the efficiency in terms of the overall supply chain, right from China. So we pick up from approximately 3,000 suppliers across China and then bring it to India, pay duty, do the entire airline and the ocean freight, and then we do the assembly line in India. So this overall channel of supply chain is completely automated, and we can see exactly where are the SKUs, where are your shipments, or where are your cargo, where is currently the cargo, it is at which leg it is at. So there are so many legs which is involved. One is the first mile leg, which is the pickup from the origin. Then you connect it through ocean or air. Then again, there is a custom clearance, and then there is a warehousing, and then there is transportation in India. So each leg has got so many people involved. So everything we track it in the entire system, which is called JustLink. But how do we convert that into a reward program? That we do not have any solution. We are completely doing on a manual basis as of now. So that is something which I was talking to some of the team members of Zozo Day, and we are trying to solve that. I had a call with them. So that is something which you want to solve. But in terms of the supply chain automation, this entire thing is tracked on one platform. And that is exactly what we are doing, giving the service to the external customers. The efficiency level is so high that it is easy to convert any of the B2B customers who has freight forwarding needs. But at the same time, how are we automating the reward program? That is something still a question which we have to solve.
I'm sure Himanshu can help you with that.
Right.
Probably you guys can catch up for some time after the event. So
Sure.
I would like to speak to Sumit next. We've been speaking about automation for this entire session, and for any organization, you are the one who probably decides what kind of automation do we go ahead with, and and you are the one who probably decides what automation is a good to have versus must have. So what is your take on that, and what are the kind of variables that you think about, or what are the factors that come into play when you decide what is the acceptable level of automation that I should probably go for as an organization?
So I would not claim, and especially with having so many different folks around here, right from product to customer service to everyone, I would not claim that technology is the only department or the section that decides upon it. It's a
But leads it for sure.
yeah. At the end of the
Leads
day,
the adoption for
it should
sure.
be, yes, surely coming to us
That's what
to
I meant.
get the executions done, get it done right on the ground so that it works for the entire organization to really fulfill the goals that have been set across, right? Today, I guess this automations are of various kinds, right? Right from very basic automations of getting things or processes into systems like what we generally end up calling ERP, where it is just about tracking data, to making sense of this data using AI ML techniques to get into demand prediction or prediction logics, then to take it ahead, implementing or utilizing automation systems like sorters, automated guided vehicles, hopefully drones and self-driven vehicles sometime soon. All of these kind of comes under the entire automation piece that we really need to take care of, right? The impact that automation can really drive in this entire section, or as we've seen over years, has been pretty high, right? And as we go ahead and as the industry continues to scale, plus combined with the concern of lesser gig works or workers available on the ground to be able to scale up in the same linear manner, the pressures of cost, and as we know, the winter is coming, has been the term recently around, right? Everyone is looking for profitability, which will not come if we continue to scale in a linear manner in terms of our expenses as well, right? This is where automation continues to play a role by doing better demand predictions. Let's say if I have to talk about hyperlocal specifically, right? By doing better demand predictions so that we can place the workforce at the right place where the demand is actually going to come in. We are able to honor most of the orders or order demand that comes our way. That way, maximizing the revenue both for the company as well as for the rider on the ground, right? Maybe to take again another specific case of hyperlocal, especially when it comes to food deliveries. When you order your food, right, we have to give a confirmation right at that moment if this order can be delivered or not delivered. But the food would be ready probably in anywhere between 5 to 60 minutes of time, depending on the kind of food order, the size of food order being given, right? Do I keep the rider busy or just blocked for this entire duration? Or can I maximize both his potential by utilizing him on yet another round, yet another order in the meantime to deliver, and then coming back to your order, where while I have already promised you that your order would be delivered, right? And as hoping it is not your birthday. But yeah, so given those being the cases, and again, another part with the gig workforces, they have an option to go offline at any point of time, which means you're never sure about if the rider is even available by the time your food is ready. So considering all of this, there is a lot of technological predictions that you have to get to understand if I will really be able to fulfill this, not fulfill this, not being very pessimistic, which would lead to underutilization of your resources, and again, not being over optimistic, which will lead to bad customer experiences. A right thin fine balance of both needs to be maintained, and none of these can really be done manually. And as we grow, as we scale up, it just cannot be handled manually at any point of time, right? That is where technology plays a role. And yes, we are the ones to take those decisions, but in sync with all the members of a community, all the members of the company.
Yes, I think one of the major factors, Sumit, is also because of that one missed delivery, you could actually miss out on the strategic partnership that you probably have with Zomato or Swiggy. That is, I think, one of the major things that someone like some organization like yours could really be worrying about. Is my guess.
Right.
I'm sure. Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
If you
no.
were
So
seeing anything.
fortunately, at least it is not about one missed delivery. The industry does understand how it entirely works on the ground and the kind of limitation it comes with. But for sure, right, it's all about customer experience. Right? At the end of the day,
Correct.
if that is not provided and we end up breaching on the customer experience regularly, we are sure to lose all the contracts that we have with these partners, right? So yeah, that's becomes a very critical part, lever or a guardrail when we have to take all these calls as to how do we really fulfill our orders there. And again, a part of it can be helped through incentives, as I said, even some time back, luckily being one of the gig economy based platform, and with the right play of incentives and even dynamic incentives, we are able to quickly raise some as an request for additional members to join into the network, and be able to fulfill some of this demand which would probably otherwise go unfulfilled, right, and leading to bad customer experience. So yeah, again, incentives does play a role here, and with dynamic incentives kind of coming into play, it does help.
Thanks, Sumit. Shashi, you've just raised your hand.
So I had one question for Sumit actually.
Yes, Saptashi.
Yeah, so actually, so I was from 2012 to 2017. I was in Blue Dot at DHL e-commerce. I was actually building the e-commerce division of Blue Dot that time. One of the key question which I had, and still I do not know how, because I moved from the B2C vertical to from national to a little different role. One of the key question which I still have is, how do you guys manage to handle the peak season labors? And how, obviously forecasting is one of the things which you plan and then you hire, and how do you manage to, what kind of model do you run where you see that that labor force can be increased at the peak time, and how do you manage to retain them, or what kind of model do you use to handle the peak, especially because you cannot run with them across the year, right, because you have certain volumes which only goes up in the bill. So that is one question that I had, and I might be having some insight from you. I'll get some insight from you on that.
At least, luckily, having been worked for eCart for a long time, and now with Shutterfax, yes, we do experience this at both the sites. In fact, again, quoting Rahul, even he mentioned 3 months are spent in like hiring, and then 3 months are spent in hiring the workforce just to build for those festive peaks, right? So yeah, it's a difficult ballgame because you need to hire, train this workforce, and ensure they're ready to take care of the kind of experience that you want to give to the to your end customer, right? So it does need some time to hire and train them. And again, because your economics will not really permit to keep that kind of workforce once the sale peak is over. You kind of have to take them out. But again, as I said, with eCart, yes, we did have those experience, and we used to manage a large part of it with the help of bringing in fixed workforce through Kirana deliveries, last mile agents, or working with some of the human as in workforce providing partners, right? Through which we were able to scale up such kind of requirements. In fact, even from eCart, we work with the likes of Shadowfax, who provides these last mile gig workforce to eCart to be able to do deliveries during these peak times. So that's one of the ways that those we used to manage, so that you don't need to hire and fire the workforce every now and then. It is not good both from the delivery workforce point of view, as well as probably not the best use of time of the corporate workforce or the HR workforce that works for these areas. Okay? So these are some of the mechanisms which have been applied over a period of time to optimize, again, movements towards locker-based deliveries, or as we have been saying, experimenting with drones or vehicles. These kind of things would further help reduce the kind of need of expanding on the workforce during the peak sales, and rely more and more on these kind of technologies where you just deliver it to a locker, or let's say tomorrow you can even use the way we use the kiranas, you use let's say the
digital
security
locker.
personals at every apartment to do these deliveries. They were able to optimize over it and avoid getting into such a scenario. But as of today, I don't think so any one of us has found the magical
Right.
solution where we don't need to do it at all. There would still be some amount of hiring and firing that would continue to happen during such times.
Right. And one more question is the scale currently Indian e-commerce market is going. I just saw Meesho doing around 53 lakhs, and I'm sure players like you must be doing 20-30% of that, or maybe distributed, and that's huge. Okay, the numbers which is going currently, and it's going to be huge in the next 3-4 years because the Indian economy is growing at that scale. How artificial intelligence is helping you guys in, or are you guys using it, and how is it using in terms, how do you use it to forecast, or how do you use it to plan your entire year of model, because it is growing at a scale which we have never seen before. Like COVID, after COVID, I was speaking to somebody from Ecom Express, and he said that before COVID, what numbers we were doing, we were surpassing that even just when the COVID got over. So what kind of AI technologies helps you, especially with this large scale of volume? How does it help in terms of planning your entire, let's say, next year, or the entire planning of your model? How does it help, and do you use any of such?
So as you say, I guess I can openly declare that we hit some of our e-commerce peaks just this week with the Meesho sale happening. So we really our numbers, which were already high considering what we used to do pre-pandemic, right? During those times, we had already seen like 4x jumps to our BAU numbers at that point of time, and the Meesho sale just took it to the next level this time around, right? So yeah, we have been seeing those peaks, and things have been expanding aggressively. At some point of time, you can even say that the numbers have been higher than what we have been able to predict where it could reach. I guess overall it's good for the overall economy, for the overall market, and especially players into the logistics industry. Having said that, again, based on the historical data that we have, we kind of try to predict as to how the market trends would be. What would be the loads month over month. We of course do talk to and get a lot of details from the clients that we work with, their own sale projections that they are getting to. All of this kind of forms our inputs to figure out what kind of scale that we really need to meet, right? Based on those, again, a lot of work goes on behind the scenes to plan the supplies, to plan the relevant compensations as well as incentives that we'll need to provide to the suppliers to bring in the right number of workforce available at the time when it is really required. So yes, AI ML does play a large role in the background to be able to do this. And taking it ahead, right, this is one of the prediction part. Importantly, even on enhancing the productivity that we are able to get through this workforce on the ground, right? So again, that's where AI ML plays a large role, so that we are actually able to meet the scale numbers. Those are predicted, or those are coming along our way.
Thank you. Yes. So now let us take some questions from the audience. A few of them have dropped it on the chat box. I'm just reading it out. So I think, Praful, this one is to you. What do you think is the role of AI in building up entire ecosystem of logistics delivery experience, considering you are the one who works on these products and closely works on things like that? Hello? Praful?
I think yeah, there must be network issue.
Okay, cool. Soma, would you like to take that?
Can you ask the question again, Rucha? I'll try and attempt.
Yes. So the question from the audience, Dinesh, is that what do you think is the role of AI in building up the entire ecosystem of logistics delivery experience? The role of AI.
AI plays a very critical role. I think a bit of it was touched by Rahul earlier as well, and then subsequently by Sumit. See, we are like Rahul rightly mentioned. I think some of the big players are in this forum in the logistics space, and I just mentioned about the number of shipments that we kind of handle in the ecosystem. And imagine if one organization is able to handle so much of shipments. Think about Shadowfax, think about Ecom Express, and any other player in that market for that matter. All of this, all the information about the shipments has to be available in a certain form and shape to the end consumers. That could be internal stakeholders, this could be external stakeholders. So AML is building these models up and having this data available for the right folks in the right form. Okay, so just to give some examples, I saw one more question. Probably this would also get answered by that. And also again, Rahul kind of touched upon all the aspects of logistics. Okay, and he beautifully did that. So we talked about customers, trying to self-serve the information that they want. They want to reschedule the shipments, and they want to kind of if there is an information that they want to know about the shipment. Sometime earlier people used to call the customer care centers and then wait for some time to get in touch with the customer care executive on the other side, and then probably the information is half-baked when it comes to him. Today, some of the companies deployed chatbots where the information is crunched and the data is already available. The guy has to go there and put the available number, and then and the bot immediately throws in what the status is. And one more thing, that the bots are also or built in such a way that they learn to understand the kind of question the customer keeps asking every other time, right? And then they get equipped with the answers. The next time, maybe this time the bot doesn't have an answer, but the bot is learning, right? And next time the bot is equipped to answer, these kind of questions might come, and we will have to answer these kind of questions as well. So there is not one place. Actually, logistics is a very complex ecosystem, but very interesting as well. And AML plays a very, very critical role in trying to solve for every bits and pieces of the problem that we see in the ecosystem.
Thanks.
I hope I answered.
Thank you, Suma, for your very detailed answer. Okay, so Rahul, Yashi has a question for you. How are customer service teams in logistics using AI to automate processes and bring about efficiency? Which we have, I think, spoken about majorly when you spoke about the last time, but a few insights on
Let
that.
me answer that. Okay. So how are customer service teams in logistics using AI? So typically, finally, logistics is largely operations and an HR intensive organization, right? These are two sets of people who drive the whole experience and enabled by technology. Service is a bridge between the external world, which is one side the consignee, and the other side is the shipper, right? Now, what is the customer's need in all of this? Both the shipper and the consignee. It's a very simple need. They want to know, is my shipment picked up? Is it transiting through on the right, let's say, within the timelines? And finally, it is going to get delivered to me on time. Finally, AI plays a very critical role here. The whole game I'll try and simply explain this I try and explain it to all my teams in a very simplistic manner, and then I'll bring out the concept of AI. Think of a train, let's say a Rajdhani, which is going from Delhi to Chandigarh. Along the way, it passes through various stations, right? So you have Sonipat, Panipat, Ambala, so on and so forth. At every station, there's a standard time of arrival and a standard time of departure, right? However, in this journey, at times, there are various disappointments that happen, owing to which the journey can get delayed at a particular station, but may not impact the overall journey time, which means the end arrival time into Chandigarh would not change. Now, bring this back to logistics. How does AI help us? When a shipment is transiting from, say, a pickup in Kerala and getting into Kashmir, along the way, it's a long circuitous journey, and the shipment changes various hands, has to pass through various stations. At any station, this may get delayed, and hence it may have an impact on the overall delivery time. What AI does is two-pronged. One is just simply informing the customer of these delays, but it's much more than that. It also helps in a very important thing called route optimization, which means that if a shipment is likely to get delayed, can you actually optimize routes when you see these delays becoming very, let's say frequent? And how does that play back to the customer service teams? The customer service teams are actually relaying this information back to the customer, which is the shipper or the consignee. A lot of it is automated, but then when it's about shipper and the service team interactions, it helps these service teams get this information upfront on dashboards so that they're able to communicate better, so that they are able to logically answer a lot of uncomfortable questions around delays, around repromise, around so at times, there will be a thing that someone's asking you, you're delivering a shipment in 4 days, why not 3 days? Where does AI play a role here? Network teams actually use data sciences tools to design network routes. Now, these network routes that are designed also consider a lot of costs in mind, because I can move a shipment from point A to point B in 1 day, but sometimes I do it in 2 days. Why? Because if I do it in 1 day, I'll move a half-empty truck, right? So it's a higher cost for me. Now, where does AI play a role here? It tells me that if in a particular route I am operating at a longer turnaround time, I can go back to my shipper and say, hey, Mr. Shipper, increase the load here. I will add an additional truck and I'll cut short your timelines. So service teams are enabled with this kind of information through technology by utilizing a lot of these tools, which finally data sciences throws up, right? So that they are able to have intelligent conversations with customers. Second, at times failures would happen. Now, when failures happen, everyone asks, "Iska RC in plain simple Hindi? Why the hell has it happened?" Now, if you look on the face of it, you end up blaming the guy on the last mile, that this guy delivered your shipment late. But no, it's not as simple as that. There are various things that go into it. It's as simple as when the shipment was assigned to us to pick up as a logistics partner, was the vehicle configuration right? Did you send the right vehicle? If you didn't, you may have to pick up the load in 2 days. AI plays a role there because it tells you, basis your load and capacity planning, what kinds of vehicles do you have to send for pickup. Then, basis the amount of shipments which have been allocated, you actually plan your capacity at the operational hours to your hub, your sortation systems, what speed they will operate at, your line hauls. Now, all of this finally relays back to customer service teams who use this information in answering a question, a very simple question to a customer, that why a shipment did fail. If it did fail, its promise. Because the promise could have been failed for a simple reason that a vehicle did not land on time, because someone who was supposed to give you 100 shipments at one location ended up giving you 1,000 shipments. Now, let's take a case in point. One fine day, my dear friend Express-B, or for that matter, me, in one facility, we are supposed to get 100 shipments, someone ploys on 1,000 shipments, I can't pick it up on time. So I fail. So those guys come back to my service teams and says, you guys are good for nothings. Listen, you failed. Now, if I am not backed with planning information and capacity information, which all these AI tools through intelligent dashboards throw back to me, I will take the flak for all of it. So basically, AI for service teams here, pure play customer service teams here, helps them become more confident by relaying them a lot of information especially about shipment movement and tracking and root causing in terms of failures. So they are much more confident in dealing with situations. Second, in also analyzing trends of repetitive failures to work with the other teams, which is operations and network, and help create possibilities and solutions for improving the overall service performance. So that's how I would take it. I hope I've answered the question.
Okay, thank you. So Saptarshi, next question is for you. How can we automate incentives for workforce handling international freight forwarding shipments, as well as for port operations workforce handling custom clearance and delivery? Should it be per shipment or should it be monthly or quarterly?
I think in international forwarding, the major challenge happens in the custom clearance. That is the most gray area which we face. and the after clearance to delivery. Okay, because there is a handover which happens from the CHA to the transportation team, or if it is internal CHA team, then it basically if the examination happens from there to the delivery. That is the most gray area which currently is. Ideally, it should be on a monthly or a quarterly. Generally, the forwarding companies do it on a quarterly basis. There is a reason behind. The number of shipments is very so ideal way. You consider a DHL Global Forwarding, or let's say our global team, or let's say Expediter, any of the international forwarding company, they do around 20,000 to 30,000 tons a month. Okay, that's huge volume, but at the same time, number of shipment is actually 1 ton per shipment generally is the average value. So that's around 30,000 shipments a month. That's it. Okay, and let's say you do 2,000 containers, that's approximately a revenue of, let's say, easily it should be more than a 50 CR revenue, but then the number of shipment is only 2,000. So actually, if you do 2,000 containers, it's per container you pay around $10,000, right? Now 2,000 containers, the number of shipments is too low. That's why people keep it quarterly. People are, some of the new forwarders, they are rewarding people on monthly basis, especially on the destination part, that is the custom clearance and delivery part, because there people want integrity to be at a higher value, as well as people should be very open in terms of because you do not know what kind of payment are you doing to are you paying for the offices. When 30% of the shipments gets opened because of some of the other reason, okay, while clearing the shipment, the guy who is handling those shipments should be rewarded at the right time with a fair value, so that they take care of those shipments. Because forwarding is not the difficult part. The difficult part becomes the custom clearance and the transportation after that, because there is a handover which is completely a gray area. So we are trying to move it. A lot of companies are actually moving it into a monthly basis, but on per shipment, you will not really have that many shipments today to really reward any of the employees. So in an ideal case, it should be quarterly, but few people are moving into a monthly basis as well, and especially on the destination services. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So, do you think, Saptarshee, you could probably move to incentivizing based on every incident, or is that something that is doable
So
to actually motivate them to kind of do it? Because I'm sure that the time and the intent also is very, very important in these cases. So do you think having milestones for clearance could be something that could
exactly
be doable?
So we have a milestone. So custom clearance can take from 5 hours to 3 days to even 10 days. If your shipment gets opened, then it can take 8 to 10 days as well. If it goes on a faceless examination, where the officers are not there in front of you, it goes to any of the port, and your examination happens in any of the port, there it becomes a very challenging situation. So the paperwork and documentation is one of the key areas. Pre-alerts are one of the key areas which generally the team has to handle very properly. We have different milestones in terms of custom clearance. How many hours are we taking to clear a shipment, and is the shipment getting opened or not? If the shipment gets opened, then it's the problem for our customer as well. Plus it's for us, because the relationship with the customer also goes for a toss, because they put it on you. So we have milestones that in how many hours are we clearing the shipment? Is there any of the shipments getting opened by the officers? That is one. And is there any pilferage which happens? So these are the milestones which we keep, especially on the custom clearance to delivery part. And in terms of international, the forwarding part, the milestone which we currently follow is after the handover of the shipment. If it's an FOB shipment, after the handover shipment, in how many, it's basically 24 hours is what should be the ideal case of connection of an airline, and generally 2 to 3 days of sailing date, ocean sailing. So in how many hours and how many days are you connecting on air, and how are you connecting on ocean? That is the kind of milestone which we follow in terms of the connection of the shipment. And then custom clearance, as I said, it's basically how many hours are you clearing the shipment. So these are the matters, and then the person who is responsible for that, the manager, and the down the line taking care of those generally get rewarded on a quarterly basis. We check the milestones, we see whether because it creates a lot of impact, because custom clearance, although the revenue wise it hardly contributes 5% to a forwarding company, 5 to 10% to a forwarding company, but that is the value add which can get you any customer.
I'm sure. Thank you. So for you, Soma, is there any roadmap for capacity building and professional growth of the workforce? What are the kind of measures that someone like ExpressBees probably takes to make sure that your workforce actually moves with you or grows with you? Considering this is majorly a gig workforce, apart from the fact that there's very low stickiness when it comes to working with an organization or staying loyal to an organization, like we've been discussing. What do you think? Is there a roadmap, or how does the professional growth for this specific set of workforce happens?
Okay. First of all, the answer is yes. We do have a roadmap for professional growth of this sect of workers that we have. While I do agree, and we did touch upon this point, stickiness is a problem with this workforce. That being said, a good part of or a good proportion of our current workforce have been sticking around with us for at least a good last 3 years onwards, right? So we've seen that kind of people as well. The key is to understand what how these guys are motivated, or what makes them stick for a little longer, right? We talked about all possible options that is available for us. One is giving them incentives, the other one is kind of giving them and then keeping them occupied. But another thing that we should also take into consideration is that most of the logistics companies are growing and growing faster, which in a sense means that we would need people to man or some of our delivery centers on a medium term and long term. And no better people than some of these folks who could turn out to be good supervisors over a period of time, right? Because they've been in the system for a while, they know what are the loopholes that could be exploited, and they know how to motivate the delivery boys that report into them, right? So we do have a certain framework in place where we kind of groom them, and then when small centers come in, we kind of tell them that you can now move on. You don't have to go on the field and deliver anymore. You've been with us for quite a long time. We appreciate that fact, and you can now move on to supervisory roles and start looking at managing smaller teams and start getting deliveries through these workforce. Now this differs across the assets, as I would call it. We have a different framework for last mile. We do have a different framework for middle mile and first mile as well. So net, the answer is yes, we do have a framework. That being said, obviously another point which is a very pertinent point that Rahul made was, this is a group that would move out to another employer just for $500. So that is also a fact. But yeah, but that being said, these folks different people come with different requirements and motivational factors. So some people stick around. So that, yeah, that's the answer that I have for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Excuse me.
Yes.
This is Dr. Rakesh Chaturvedi. I have raised this question. So I want to add something like that. If while hiring, you can give them a brief that after 3 years, your career path will be like this if you work in a way, and after 5 years, you will be there. So such type of roadmap and how he is going to achieve that roadmap or goal, there should be a lacking. There is no such type of means people are coming, we are giving training, whatever training is relevant to them or not, how their capacity building program is going on, competency level, how we are validating their competency.
Should I take that? Chaturvedi, should I answer that?
Unaddressed always in most of the organization.
Yes, Rahul, please.
Chaturvedi, just to give you a small little insight, more than 60% of people in our organization who've grown are all internal grown, right? So, jo aap keh rahe the, we actually have a very simple yet robust form of internal growth. It's every organization tries to promote IJP, right? We back up IJP with a lot of psychometric analysis as well. That means it's not plain simple IJP. You actually go through psychometric tests at every level, because growing a person into a larger role is not basis performance. It is basis potential. You can be a fantastic guy in your role, but that doesn't mean you'll be a damn good guy in the next role. So to analyze potential is
But
where we use.
unleashing the potential is also
Sir,
part
bata
of organization.
agree.
We are
So
not
hum
able
uske
to
liye-
unleash the potential.
So I will answer that. So what we do for that is that basis performance and basis discussions with people, we analyze their career goals. Not everyone wants to be in the same role and the same function throughout. So we also encourage interdepartmental movement. So you have people from operations moving into customer service, from customer service into sales, from hub operations into last mile operations, into first mile operation, and so on and so forth. So anyone can move in across the entire web of the logistics framework. So today, one of the strengths that our company has, and that's why we call ourselves and certified as a great place to work organization, is that most of our workforce and talent is largely ingrown because we have a very, very, very well oiled system of training, of identifying talent, of giving them the right inputs at the right time, and more so guiding them to the right direction, because sometimes we want to be something, but we may not have possessed the skill sets for that. And that is where we use a lot of, let's say, psychometric tools to analyze. You want to be in, let's say, operations, but your psychometric analytics say that you're not actually a hardcore operations guy, you're more suited for service. So we give those insights also, and we help people design their careers. And that's what also helps us. It's a very, very key retention tool. See, money can be one retention tool, but yes, you rightly pointed out, showing a person a career path is very, very important. And therefore, we identify bedrocks of people or other functions from where you can actually have talent pools which can grow into various parts of the organization. So that's something which we do. We do it it's an ingrained part of our HR and capability development culture.
Thanks, Rahul. Rakesh, I'm sure that must have answered your question. So, guys, it was a wonderful
thank
session,
you.
and thank you everyone for joining us today. And it was awesome to have you all and speak about everything that has got to do with logistics. And I had a blast moderating this panel. I hope you guys also had a lot of fun speaking here, and I hope the audience also enjoyed listening to our session today. Thank you, everyone. Now I hand it over to Ekta. Hi, Ekta.
Yes. Yeah. Before we wind up, do we have any questions? I would want the audience, if there are any else, because we have wonderful questions already in the chat box, which all these speakers have addressed. So, any questions from the audiences? Any remaining final thoughts?
My one more question was not answered, I think so. On the base or on the need of optimization, firing is the right option, or we can explore other option also.
Can I take that answer?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think Sumit did touch upon this point, Sri Yogendra. So look, we also have a lever called as flex. It's not necessarily hiring and firing is what we do in all companies, right? We understand that it is not a scalable model, because when the need comes, we will have to go and reach out to the same set of folks that we've kind of let go a little earlier. And they're like, last time when you did not want us, you let us go. Now, why are you coming back? Now, and one interesting part is, look, this set of people are becoming very, very, less available as all the logistics companies grow. And a lot of hyperlocal companies popping up every other city. I think the demand for this workforce is increasing, which in essence means that all of us have realized that hiring and firing is not the only way that we will be able to do this. So we have certain levers. We kind of build the operating model to have flex, so that when there is a surge in load, we kind of manage it with these flex capacities that we have inbuilt. So one of the points that Sumit mentioned is also about the alternate delivered models, where they use lockers and then they use all of the mechanisms. Kiranas is one point that is being put across. But that still is some extent of hiring and retrenching that would happen. That was because the volumes that we kind of see during the sales season is quite abnormal. No matter what kind of levers that we have internally, we are at times forced to exercise this thing, which as much as we don't like to do this, we are left with no option. But I think even, in my opinion, the country is also coming to terms with that, because if you see the sales season, we see a lot of migrant population coming into metros. They know very well that, during the sales season, the demand for the gig workforce is high. So, I would probably from one remote village can go on to a city like a Bangalore or Delhi, get hired, work there for 2-3 months, which probably is the money that they would see over a year in their cities, and go back. There's also a bunch of guys that are like, like that. So the entire country and the logistics ecosystem is coming to terms the fact that there are seasonal requirements for this industry, and I think it would take some time for us to completely iron out this nuance of the industry. But so that's what is currently happening, and that's how the companies operate to kind of manage this loads.
I'm not asking. My question is not related to seasonal hiring and seasonal firing. My question is related. Suppose I have employed some group of people, and at that end of the year, I selectively says that he is not able to perform at the end of year. But in other company, they will never say at the end of year that he has not performed well or he need improvement, then he need to be fired or he need to be search other job. They can tell at the right time when they are noticing, and how they can on track the off track people to avoid such type of last year annual appraisal part. That oh, you have done a very wonderful job, but you need improvement.
Let me help you. Let me help you here. Let me just answer that question. So there are two parts. One is what you're referring to, an annual appraisal system. That appraises in any company, in any industry, you have an annual appraisal exercise. But yes, that's not the base for hiring and firing. Finally, performance management in various companies happens in different ways. Some do monthly reviews, some do quarterly reviews, some do half-yearly reviews. Now, in those reviews, it's up to the rigor of the organization how metric-driven you are. Finally, number ka game hai. You all have targets. We all have monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, and annual targets. If you don't meet your targets, you have to have a very clear and candid discussion with your employee. If those targets are way off, means the guy is actually way off his targets, you put him on what we call normally in our parlance a performance improvement plan. The intent of such plans is not to throw out the employee, but to give him an opportunity to improve in a time-bound manner. If the person still doesn't improve, you then put him on a caution and exit him out of the system if there is no alternate available. Because sometimes it's also a question that the guy is in the wrong role. He may be an excellent guy for some other role, but he's by chance in the wrong role. So you also try and give him an alternate opportunity. But finally, if he doesn't fit in any of those, you have to ease him out of the system. So it's not an annual exercise. It again varies on companies, the capability development team and the entire organization, how metric driven they are, how rigorous they are in their reviews. Because we all in various parts of our careers in various organizations we worked with have been guilty that we finally appraise a guy at the end of the year. But that's not the right thing. You have to give him candid feedback through the year, every month, and work with them on improving them and help them grow. Because otherwise, at the end of the year, the guy thinks I'm a 5 rater and you give him a 1 rating and says, oh, what happened? And no, that's not the right way. So to answer your question,
but, sorry to interrupt you, but HR is having their own criteria. They are having
I don't know.
They are having a fixed percentage. This much of percentage people need to be re-rotated.
Nahi hota hai, sir. I don't know which organizations you are referring to.
I have seen 7 organizations in 25 years.
Oh, fantastic.
So they are having their own KRA of HR department to optimize the cost and to optimize their KRA like procurement. Commercial team is having their own KRA. You are going to be, I am willing to purchase this much of item, this company, they will say you L1. So They are having their own KRA. People are having such KRA, it should affecting the other people performance. That's why these things are
I
happening.
hope my message goes out to all organizations that you worked out with and they change their systems. Yeah.
Thank you
No,
so
I am
much.
not,
Thank you so much
my
for
question.
this
My
question.
question is not to give message to organization. I have already given feedback whenever I work. I want the practical solution of this means mechanism or system. And I have seen few organizations, they are don't have any such type of mechanism of firing or like they are having a good, very good, excellent performance. There is a difference in incremental percentage only. Your
I
job is
think
secure.
Rakesh, that is exactly what Rahul and everyone on the panel have been, I think, talking about. I think it ultimately boils down to transparency and visibility. Be it your partners, be it your customers, be it your employees, or be it your gig workforce. I think that is the central theme of
It would have been
meeting
better
expectations
it
for
would
all
have
of us.
been better if we or you can communicate him earlier instead of saying at the end of year. You can communicate him in mid-year review that you are not able to perform in last quarter. Now you are not able to perform, so that the guy can have a chance, sufficient time to improve
Yes.
or to
I
move.
think that has got more to do with HR policies than I think automation and logistics, so to say. Wonderful speaking to all of you. Can we have some closing notes from our speakers today, please?
Yeah, we can have final thoughts from the speaker and
Yes, yes.
we can do the closure.
And yes, to conclude the session.
So I guess
Sumit?
I'll go first. Yeah. It was a very, very nice discussion, I guess. Very involved panelist. A lot of details and learnings from all of you. Rahul surely touched upon a lot of points. I guess almost all of us quoted Rahul in each of our answers as well. But very nice and enriching discussion that we had today. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us part of the discussion.
Thanks, Sumit. Soma?
I kind of echo Sumit's feedback. It was really a pleasure being a part of this panel and a bunch of learning for me as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Rahul?
It was lovely meeting up people who you often only, sort of hear about or, discuss about in various forums. And yeah, my message to all the folks in logistics, look forward to a nice season of 2022.
Thanks,
Likewise,
Rahul. Himanshu?
Yeah, it was great speaking to everyone here, very enlightening conversations and a lot of things to understand and sort of work on after this meeting as well. So great to meet everyone. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session. I had a blast moderating this one. And thank you so much for keeping it a free-flowing conversation and for all the insights and anecdotes that you guys shared. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We would be sharing the video of the entire session with the audience and the speakers. And of course, we would reconnect with you to have your one-on-one brainstorm sessions with Compass to know more about them. So once again, thank you so much, all the thought leaders, for taking out your precious time being here. And all the audience, thank you so much for asking lovely questions and making this panel more interesting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Again,
you,
stay
Ekta, for
safe.
hosting this for us.
No worries. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.